Welcome to Unity of Boulder. We're really happy that you're here today. So we're going to start off with a song we did a few weeks back called The Strength of Love. So if you remember it, you're welcome to sing along. If you want to just listen, that's fine too, but just enjoy. So now, if you wouldn't mind standing up and saying good morning to each other, meet someone new, greet someone old. So today it is a one-woman show. I am it. Just kidding. But I do have your announcements. So we just have a couple of quick announcements. The first is about the church campout. So the slots are completely filled. So if you haven't signed up, we don't have any more space. But if you need directions, if you have already signed up and you need directions or information on the campsite, we do have packets available in the office. And also, if you would want to caravan up to the campsite, they will be meeting between 1 and 1:30 in the rear of the church. So you're welcome to join and drive up together. Our other announcement is we are doing a food drive. It's for the Harvest of Hope pantry. So dried goods, canned goods, things like that. If you can just buy a couple extra the next time you're in the grocery store and bring those in, we have bins in the fellowship area for that collection. Okay, I think that's everything right now. So we are going to invite Spirit into this space in preparation for today's talk. And please sing along with me if you know it. Spirit of the living God, Spirit of the living God, we only want to hear your voice. We're hanging on every word. Spirit of the living God, Spirit of the living God, we want to know you more and more. We're hanging on every word. Come and speak to us. Spirit of the living God, Spirit of the living God, we only want to hear your voice. We're hanging on every word. Spirit of the living God, Spirit of the living God, we want to know you more and more. We're hanging on every word. 'Cause when you speak and when you move, when you do what only you can do, it changes us, it changes what we see and what we seek. When you come in the room, when you do what only you can do, it changes us, it changes what we see and what we seek. Living God, Spirit of the living God, we're leaning into all you are. Everything else can wait. Spirit of the living God, Spirit of the living God, come now and breathe upon our hearts. Everything else can wait. 'Cause when you speak and when you move, when you do what only you can do, it changes us, it changes what we see and what we seek. When you come in the room, when you do what only you can do, it changes us, it changes what we see and what we seek. When you speak, when you move, when you do what only you can do, it changes us, it changes what we see and what we seek when you come in the room, when you do what only you can do. It changes us, it changes what we see, what we see. You're changing everything. Spirit of the living God, Spirit of the living God, we only want to hear your voice. We're hanging on every word.
Good morning, everyone. I think it's important to kick things off with a prayer. I'm looking out and I can tell you guys really need it. So I invite you just to close your eyes, just to settle into a prayerful state, whatever that is for you, and to relax. How blessed we are to be in this space. How blessed we are to be among friends, family members, people of like mind, like interest, and like goal. We are all here in the effort of attaining and finding spiritual truth, becoming more aware, more awakened, more enlightened in our daily lives. And by being surrounded of people of like mind, we become teachers and students, sharing energy, a giving, an exchange. We are uplifted as we uplift others. We are empowered as we empower others. And this is our focus and our purpose today. It is community that will save this planet. It is coming together like this that is so needed in this world today. What we do right now is the most important thing that can happen in the world. And we are grateful that we are of the consciousness that brings us together to do exactly that. We are healing, we are enlightening, we are awakening humanity now. Amen. Wow. Okay. I just realized I just time traveled 10 minutes into the future, so I got to actually do my talk now. I've been time traveling all morning, so if you see me just zip out of here all of a sudden and vanish, that's what happens. Speaking of vanishing, if you're wondering where Jack and Santisha and Norma might be today, the entire Groverland family, save myself, transcended this week, so they're gone. Yeah, it's good for them anyway. I was left behind. I've got a 2-week plan to join them, but I don't know how that's going. So if I'm all of a sudden gone, just know that's where I went, and somebody will run the church. You'll be fine. Okay, we're going to start off with some words of wisdom, and these aren't necessarily words of wisdom as I would traditionally use them. They're just words from a perspective that we're going to get into today. These are the words. Meditation is not an emptying of one's mind like some religions teach, but a filling of our minds with the truths of God's words. So I'd like to do a little poll here today. Do you believe that the Bible condones or condemns meditation? Who thinks the Bible condemns meditation? Raise your hand. Wow, same response first service. How about who believes the Bible condones meditation? Raise your hand. Okay, is this the first service? Did I time travel back to the first service? It is, okay. That's why I was confused. I really appreciate you coming back the second time around. So this is the first service squared. Well done. Well, for some people, there's a very clear conflict between the Bible and meditation. And if you were raised in a more fundamental Christian religion, you probably are fully aware that there is a very clear line in the sand between the Bible and meditation as we practice it today. And it would probably not be much of an issue for a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people studying the Bible could just say, well, meditation's not my thing, I'm not going to have anything to do with it, except for the fact that the Bible actually uses the word meditation and refers to meditation in many locations, especially in the Old Testament. We'll find this like in the book of Psalms. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. So this forces people who study the Bible to come to terms with the word meditation because it is being used in the Bible. And for many of them, the conclusion of what this word means is simply deep concentration or deep contemplation on God or God's word. So they would say it's not referring to the practice of sitting down and clearing the mind and doing what we regularly attribute to meditation. It actually just means deep contemplation on God or God's word. So that's what they've concluded. So they say it's not referring to the meditation that we're talking about. And I don't disagree with this being an actually very powerful meditation practice, to simply just be in deep contemplation on God or God's words. I don't think that that's anything wrong to say that. And actually, neither did our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, when he defined the word meditation for us in the book, The Revealing Word. So this is sort of Unity's definition of meditation. He said, continuous and contemplative thought to dwell mentally on anything, realizing the reality of the absolute, a steady effort of the mind to know God, man's spiritual approach to God. So we could sort of say that does seem in alignment with what the more fundamental Christian religions have come to conclude what the word meditation means in the Bible, which is simply just deep contemplation on the words or the presence of God itself. Now keep in mind, we are fixated or focused on God or the divine in that process. And that is, in fact, a very powerful meditation practice. If one can do this, they will experience benefits in their life. There's no doubt about that, so that's not a bad thing. But Charles Fillmore did not stop there. He actually continues on in his definition of meditation. He said, the purpose of meditation is to expand the consciousness Christward, to bring into realization divine truth, to be transformed in spirit, soul, and body by the renewing of the mind. So in Unity, we recognize the word Christ to be referring to our own higher awareness. Every single one of us has a Christ awareness. It wasn't specific to Jesus 2,000 years ago. We all have this Christ awareness. So when we are raising Christward or going into the Christward consciousness, we are attuning our life into this higher awareness. We're living more connected to God. The Christ is our connection or the voice of God speaking through us. And that is where we get into trouble. So this is where Unity and Buddhism and the different yogic practices of the East sort of part ways with the fundamental belief of meditation. They draw a line in the sand between being able to say that God is out there versus God is in here. That's where the sort of the line is being drawn in the sand. Everyone's kind of on the same page until we start referring to a God within each of us, or that Christ consciousness within each of us. So to fill us in on this perspective that we're hearing here is a website dedicated, which Aaron actually found for me, which was nice, dedicated to helping Christians understand the dangers of yoga and meditation. So this is a fascinating perspective. This is from truthbehindyoga.com. There are obviously numerous contradictions between the purpose of yoga and Christianity. We Christians are to strive to be like God, not to become Him. We are to pursue knowledge and wisdom through His instructions outlined in the Bible, not by pursuing pagan practices. There is only one way to freedom, and it is something we can never attain by any practice or works, but by faith we received as a gift in Jesus Christ, our Savior. Now first, if you get a chance to read this, and I recommend you do because it is a fun and hilarious read on a strictly Christian's perspective of the Hindu Bible and things like that. But the fun part about it is they have no idea what the definition of pagan is. They use the word pagan probably 50 times in this article and don't have a clue of what pagan is. The way they're using it, they think it means anything that is not Christianity. And they don't understand that pagan is actually a very specific practice or faith or religion that was very dominant back in the time of Jesus' day. So I wish they had looked that up, but they didn't. So it's kind of fun to read along and just say it in that pagan practices. It's kind of fun. Anyway, so they didn't bother to look that up. But this perspective is not taken lightly by the author or by the people that are sharing in this belief system. In fact, they have a common held understanding that meditation actually exposes one to evil. They go on to say, this action opens oneself to the spiritual realm, and demons manipulate the resulting sensations, powers, and experiences. They are capable of deception, even posing as feelings and experiences of love. Surely we all attribute love to demons, right? That's a natural step there. But their goal is to eventually kill from the inside out and keep people from ever believing in Jesus, causing eternal death. Well, that is not a glowing review of meditation, my friends. If that was your introduction to meditation, you'd probably steer in the other direction, I'm imagining. And the fundamental idea is that if we sit in silence and we quiet the mind, we are actually exposing ourselves to evil. And I didn't realize that this was even a thought system that was on the planet until probably 5 or 6 years ago in different conversations I was having with people who were raised in the more fundamental religions. And they said, yes, it's been very clearly taught to us that if you clear your mind, you're opening a pathway for demons and the devil to come in. So we don't want to have a clear mind. And I thought that was contrary to everything I had been raised with, but in fact that was a belief system. A clear mind creates room for demons to come in. And I'm thinking, who are these demons that are sitting around so bored that they're just waiting for someone to clear their mind so they can act and do something? And then I thought, what a blessing that we have social media at this time that we can introduce to the demons to keep them distracted so the rest of us can go about our business. And I think a lot of demons are finding social media. You've probably seen them on there, so we are getting that pathway working. But I do find it sad that people are discouraged from meditation. And actually, I find it more sad that people are not only discouraged from meditation, but discouraged from clearing their mind. Just the simple act of clearing their mind is discouraged because this horrific thing might be coming to follow that process. Imagine living in this world with a chaotic mind we are all very familiar with, and you're told, don't know. Just let it run rampant. Let it do what it's doing. That's much better than what could happen if you clear it, for God forbid. But I actually can relate to why they might have this perspective. And I don't like to use they because it creates separation. But there is this perspective, and I think I can relate to why this perspective might exist. And I think I know how it likely came about. So let me go on a bit of a tangent here to help establish what I'm talking about. So I need you to go on a journey with me. When I was about 8 years old, my family, the Groverland family, we did a backpacking trip down into Grand Gulch, Utah. This is an incredibly remote area. I wouldn't even call it a camping area. It's just a place you can go and camp. All right? There's no facilities. There's nothing down there. You hike for miles down into these canyons. And when you get down there, you've got to find a way to get water and filter your own water. So this is the real deal. So we did this. The whole family was there. But once you're in these canyons, it's perfectly quiet. You're as far away from civilization as you can get, and there's canyon walls as high as you can see. And down there is actually petroglyphs, and there's actually ruins from Native Americans. And so on one morning, my dad hiked us up this cliff wall up to where there was a ruin. So there were these dwellings and a kiva that was there. And we sat on the edge of this sort of cliff looking into the canyon below, and we had a meditation together. So we were all lined up side by side, and there we were, and my dad started chanting Om for all of us to join in. And to really get us into this experience, I'm going to invite you to do that with me, right? We're going to chant Om together, and if you're uncomfortable with that, you've never done it, just leave all that aside and just bellow out with the chant of Om so we can get ourselves into this space. So I just take a deep breath. Settle into the peace of this space and join with me. Om. That's the sound we heard. So we're chanting Om, and that's the sound we heard. And I wanted to startle you so you came into the same place I was in. We hear this sound and we look over, and my dad is gagging and laughing at the exact same time. And what had happened was, as my dad was fully engrossed in Om and his mouth is relaxed and open to the universe, our family dog saw an opportunity. And didn't just lick his face, he French kissed him down to the tonsils, because his mouth was just so wide open and relaxed. So my dad went from Om to the experience of a dog's tongue flying down his throat. And the sounds that followed were appropriate to the situation. And so then I thought, why couldn't the universe just let that be a moment? Right? Here we are, this family doing a spiritual practice. Why couldn't the universe just let that be a moment? Why did it have to step in and play this game? And I'm going to tell you why I think the universe did this, why it stepped in a minute. But first, I would like to tell you a bit about my own journey with meditation as I grew up with the practice. The Grand Gulch experience was not my first introduction to meditation. I was homeschooled by my mother until 5th grade, as were my siblings. And she would introduce meditation into our practice. We didn't do it every day. It wasn't forced upon us, but it was something we did once in a while, and we'd sit down and we'd meditate as a part of our schooling. I also did it fairly often in the Sunday school youth program here at Unity of Boulder, as I was raised in that program. We would do meditations in the youth program, and increasingly so as we got older into the teen years of that program. When I was in the highest age of our youth program, which is the Youth of Unity, the YOU, the high schoolers, I was the president of my youth group, which meant that occasionally I actually had to put together the lesson and give it to the other kids. And so before I would give that lesson, I often went to the meditation room, that is downstairs right below us, and I would meditate right before giving that lesson. And I had two profound experiences during that process that I want to share with you. The first was I was late one morning to giving that lesson. I was running a little bit late. I'd like to get there 15 minutes early, so if any new high schoolers came, they didn't feel awkward. I was there to welcome them. And I was running a little bit late, so I ducked in to meditate, and I was sitting there thinking, I really don't have time for meditation. I should probably get over there. I don't know how much time has passed. My eyes are closed. I should probably get up and go over there. And then I had this very strong feeling or presence of, when is it God's time? Always doing all these things, but why can't I not just take a moment for God's time without thinking I have to get to something else? So that's something that stuck with me for a while. And the next experience was I was actually having a relationship problem. This was probably a half a year later. And if you've ever had a relationship in high school, you know it's the most important thing that's happening on the planet, period. Right? If you've ever had that experience. So there I was having a relationship issue, the most important thing that could happen in the world. And I went into the meditation room to just sort of find some clarity. I was very agitated about it and frustrated. And in that meditation, I suddenly found myself sitting on the edge of a cliff. I knew I was on the cliff, but my eyes were covered. My eyes were covered by two hands, sort of like this, reaching from behind me and covering my eyes. But I could sense that I was sitting on the edge of a precipice. And as I sat there, I heard a voice simply say, "Open your eyes." And the hands came away, and I was staring at a beautiful ocean, and I was sitting on a gorgeous coastline. And it was a revelation that how quickly we get caught up in the finite, ridiculous things we think are important, and we miss the perspective of this beautiful world of which we are a part. And that is something that has stuck with me, those two revelations, for a long time. Now, those two experiences sparked an interest in me to meditate more consistently and more deeply. And so when I was about 16, 17 years old, a friend of mine, we both went to Boulder High, decided we were in a similar place. We wanted to take meditation to the next level. And so we wanted to dedicate ourselves to meditate every single morning. And so we said, I'll drive to town from my parents' mountain home. I'll pick him up. We'll come here to the meditation room. We'll meditate each day before high school. And that was our plan, and that's what we did. I don't know how early we got up to do this, because high school starts very early, but we did that to have enough time to get there. So that's what we did, and we'd show up, and quite often there were a few people from the congregation, a few adults that actually were in there meditating with us, which was a great thing, except it didn't take long before we were sitting there that the body would say, you know what, you should probably try the technique of meditating laying down. It's a powerful technique. Just give it a shot. And as soon as we lay down, boom, we were out, we were snoring, right? So now one of us would be awake, because we both did this interchangeably. One of us would be meditating and awake, and we'd hear the other one start snoring, and we'd know exactly what's happened, and there was 2 or 3 people in between us that were now sitting in the middle of a snoring fest. Well, if you've been down to the meditation room, there's a plethora of pillows, and pillows are good to throw. So we would have an agreement that if you fall asleep, throw a pillow across the meditation room, hit the other person, and wake them up. So that was the practice. So we'd quietly be lobbing pillows over people meditating to hit the other person to wake them up. And that was our practice for a year or so. That was our introduction to meditation, was being hit by pillows as we slept. I don't know if we accomplished much. But that was what would happen. We'd eventually have to lie down, because we convinced ourselves it was the way to go, and we'd fall asleep. And I have yet to meet a person that can actually meditate lying down without falling asleep. And I've heard people tell me they can do it, and then I watch them fall asleep, which is a fascinating process. But the Buddha did actually sleep laying down occasionally. So if you're looking for the proper meditative sleeping position for laying down or meditating laying down, it's this, so that you can't fall asleep, because if the head falls off the hand, it wakes you up. So that's the proper position, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, so we're moving on. And you notice that Buddha's on concrete, so if the head falls, it definitely wakes you up. But a valuable lesson came out of those early attempts at meditation downstairs. And I'd like to share this lesson with you, a very valuable lesson for me in my life. Here it is. Meditation ain't easy. Now, before we get much further, I want to settle a situation that I've run into before. I have said this in groups before, and people don't like it. I've had people get upset at me for actually saying that. And they want to debate with me that meditation is, in fact, easy, that meditation is not a struggle or a challenge. And they'll sort of come at me that like I'm doing something wrong, or what's wrong with me that I would say such a thing. And I don't debate that that might actually be the case for some people. Maybe it is just a very easy experience for some people. And for people who think meditation is easy, I think there are 3 categories, and I find that there's nothing more spiritual than putting people in categories. So that's what we're going to do. The 3 categories of people who think meditation is easy. 1, they are an old soul who came into this life ahead of the game. Basically, they're cheating. 2, they have been meditating for so long, they forgot how hard it used to be. 3, they are in denial of their current meditation struggle and feel uncomfortable acknowledging it. I think a lot of people are actually in the 3rd category because sort of there's this concept that's been sold to people that meditation is supposed to be blissful and peaceful and easy, and there's not a lot of people talking about it's a war. Sometimes you sit down and you are at war. And I've had that experience, and I know other people have had that experience. So for me to stand up here and say, meditation is easy, it makes a lot of people feel like something's wrong with them. Well, it's not easy. It's a struggle. It's definitely a struggle at times, and we should be okay with that. And I think if we can be okay with that, we can start to help each other through the process and sort of having this spiritual, a superiority complex by saying meditation's easy. Well, that's not fair to do. So at some point I realized meditation isn't easy. And this was my first glimpse into why some people might see meditation as dangerous or evil. But let's get back to why it isn't easy. My friend and I were lying down eventually. We'd start sitting up, but eventually our bodies would get uncomfortable, or we'd have to lie down for whatever reason. Well, we were lying down because we got uncomfortable, and we were falling asleep because we were exhausted, right? As soon as we lie down, the body took over, the exhaustion took over, and we fell asleep. So here's my first tip for meditation: proper sleep. See, growing up, and even to today, I have heard it said, well, I'm going to put it up here. I have heard that meditation can replace sleep. Has anyone else ever heard that? Meditation can replace sleep. And that has actually caused me to struggle with that many, many times. And this is sort of the concept. This is from artofliving.org. They said meditation and sleep both give deep rest. However, the quality of rest from meditation is deeper. Meditation gives you rest deeper than the deepest sleep, says Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. 20 minutes of meditation can equal 8 hours of good sleep. That's awesome. Think of how much more time you'd have in your day if you only had to meditate 20 minutes and boom. So I made attempts at this at different times throughout my life, and I was a miserably exhausted human being. That was the result. So I found that maybe this is true for the truly advanced yogi in their practice, but I've also found that it probably does more harm than good for the rest of us. People make statements like this, and they don't realize there's people out there trying to meditate in lieu of sleeping, and they're miserable, and they're not getting the results they seek. And one of the most advanced beings I ever met in physical form was a coworker of mine at the MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas. So my advice to you, if you're looking for a great spiritual teacher, go to casinos. No, this is true. The most advanced being I ever met and had the pleasure of being friends with worked at the MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas. And one of our favorite topics of discussion from our observation of the world around us was that sleep is one of the most underrated spiritual activities on the planet. Sleep is one of the most underrated steps on the spiritual path. One of the most simple and straightforward, but one of the most ignored steps on the spiritual path. Learning to sleep properly can bring more joy to your life probably than some of the most advanced spiritual techniques on the planet. If you're getting a good night's sleep, you feel amazing the next day. If you're not getting a good night's sleep, I don't care what kind of meditation you have, you feel horrible. That's been my experience, I'll claim that. But think, maybe the world would be a better place if we all just figured out how to sleep properly. Now, I hear people say things like, in a bragging sort of way, I only have to sleep 4 or 5 hours a night and I'm ready to go. I can tackle the world. I'm mountain climbing and doing all sorts of things, and the rest of us feel worthless because we got to sleep a full 8 hours. But then I like to ask them, so can you do that with or without stimulants? Are you accomplishing that with or without stimulants like coffee and energy drinks and drugs and other caffeinated or sugared rushes? Are you doing it without that? If you are using stimulants to stay aware throughout your day, it probably means you have an inappropriate relationship to sleep. You shouldn't need stimulants to get through your day. Your body was designed to make its own energy while you sleep, so that might be a sign that something's wrong. And a tired body is almost impossible to meditate with. That is why so many people fall asleep in meditation. And a body filled with stimulants is almost impossible to get the mind to quiet down. When you've got stimulants in the system, the mind won't go quiet. When you're not rested, the body tries to sleep. So you have these two situations going on, both related to proper sleep. Now, later on in my college years, as I was going into college, as I was out of high school, a friend of mine gave me a book for my birthday, and it was entitled Meditation. It was written by Eknath Easwaran. Some of you may have read this book or are familiar with this book, but this would introduce the first structured approach I was ever given on how to meditate. I was just sort of going at it alone. I never was given an approach on how to meditate. And I just soaked up this book. I couldn't get enough of it. It's not the greatest book ever written. I'm not telling you you should go read this book. That's not important. For me, it was very valuable in the time I received it. I'm a person who thrives in structure and organization. Now, I know you're thinking, what are you doing here in Unity? That's my own struggle. But this book presented a very specific technique to meditation, especially for novices. And the technique finally gave me direction. And that's the second principle, meditation tip I wanted to give you, was finding a technique. Finally finding a technique and finding even better techniques as I went along has been a huge help in my meditative practice. You think about our self-absorbed society today and how we're getting more isolated and more introverted. We're all sort of trying to piecemeal our own technique together based on books we've read or videos we've watched on YouTube or lecture series we've gone to or recommendations from friends and family. So we've got this patchworked spiritual practice that draws from a bunch of different sources, and we don't realize that some of them might be contrary to each other. An actual technique that has stood the test of time is designed to work a specific way. So we think about meditation's been around for thousands of years, and there are masters that have perfected it to a T. Why would we bother reinventing the wheel? Trying to come up with our own little piecemeal technique. Why not take advantage of what has already been established for us through thousands of years of practice? Now, at the core of Eknath Easwaran's technique was to repeat a prayer over and over again. The same prayer every time you meditated over and over again throughout the duration of the prayer. That was all there was. There was a little bit of breathing to get into the meditation, but then, boom, your entire meditation was repeating this prayer over and over again. And this was the prayer of St. Francis. Is anyone familiar with that prayer? Is anyone familiar with St. Francis? This is the prayer of St. Francis. I read it last service, but I just realized I don't have time. I took too long last service. So just soak it in. There it is. Then it goes to this. Didn't that feel great? So if you'd like to read the prayer of St. Francis, it's everywhere on this planet. You'll find it anywhere. So now I had what might consider a mantra, right? A series of words I was saying over and over again in meditation. And this is now a tool that I was using to keep my mind focused on the task at hand, to bring it back to center when it would wander off. And so I kept to this. But the idea of a mantra for meditation is another sort of sticky point with the more fundamental religions. And here is the reason why they think, and it's another reason why they think meditation is a bad thing. This is going back to that same website, but he's actually quoting from Matthew 6:7. This is Jesus speaking. And when you pray, do not keep on babbling like pagans, for they think they will be heard for their many words. And then he goes on to clarify. The Greek word for which babbling is derived is also translated as vain repetitions in the King James Version, meaningless repetition in the New American Standard Version, and empty phrases in the English Standard Version. Now, the writer is using this as further proof of how the Bible speaks out against meditation. And in this particular instance, it's something I actually don't disagree with. Meaningless, vain, empty repetition does not do you any good. And that is exactly what Jesus is referring to here. Meaningless, vain, empty repetition. And that brings up another misnomer about meditation, that just doing the practice is enough. The fact that I just took the time and I did it, that should be enough. I'm gaining some sort of points in heaven or somewhere. I'm getting some karmic debt relief taken away and things are getting better. But mindlessly using a mantra or any other technique without true intent or focus is really not helping you much at all. So that's the point Jesus was making there, a point I agree with. But focusing and feeling and becoming what you are saying is where the power lies in that process. Giving your undivided attention is crucial to what you're doing. A mindless, empty repetition is not going to give you much of anything. You have to actually embody what you're using or what you're saying. So some people use a visualization. They might use a visualization of the universe to expand their awareness. We're not supposed to just visualize the universe. You're supposed to embody the universe. What would it feel like to be the entire universe? What would your mind be like if it was wrapped around the entire universe? That amount of intent and focus is required for it to become beneficial. Focus, focus, focus. That is tip number 3. One of the first things and easiest things to lose in meditation is focus. Has anyone else ever experienced that? You sit down with the greatest intent to just go uber deep and just rock this meditation, and next thing you know, you're thinking about, I haven't gotten a haircut in a while, and the dog needs to be walked. I got to take care of that. And oh, we're out of doggy bags, so I'm going to have to find some trash laying around. Oh, wait, focus. Okay, meditation. Okay, mantra. Anyway, so there's that problem at work I got to deal with. And that's sort of our process. Focus. We forget that meditation is a purposeful practice where we are actively engaged. I think there's later forms of meditation where you can simply release to everything, but in the beginning and in the middle, it's work. You're training the mind to focus. Just letting it go willy-nilly is not really accomplishing much. Learning to focus on exactly whatever it is you're focusing on, the third eye, a mantra, your breath, whatever it might be, is the tool to create that center. And just being lackadaisical about it and letting it go is doing you a great disservice. The focus, the intent, the embodiment is the key. And I remember that my gymnastics teacher, who actually took gymnastics up here in North Boulder, was a Boulder Flyer when I was a kid, and he would say, practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. If you're phoning it in at practice every day, you're not going to get every better. You should be practicing and doing your tumbling routine just as if this is a performance or a competition every single time you do it. You do it at 100%. You never phone it in. Well, I followed the Eknak Eswaren practice. This became my daily meditation practice in college. I was meditating each morning in the closet of my apartment in Denver right before my classes that I'd head off to at CU Denver while I was taking those. And as time went on, I graduated from college and I moved out into the world of distraction. And meditation sort of became less frequent. Maybe it was once a week as I got into my career and as I got married and I got into creating a family. Maybe it was less than that at times. Maybe it was once a month if I was forgetting about it and really distracted. My life started being pulled towards the desires of the world. And in hindsight, I see that very clearly now. I was losing sight of the comfort that came with the humility and the humbleness that came with meditation and the peace. I was losing sight of how much I adored that. The internal struggle now in my life was actually beginning to seep out externally into my physical world. And if you've ever had that experience happen, it's not fun. So let me talk about that struggle for a moment. Within each of us, there is a constant struggle going on between our higher awareness and our lower nature. And our higher awareness is not really a fighter. Our higher awareness is sort of that higher power that just sits there and goes, when you're ready, I'm here. I'm here to support you. I love you. Whatever you need, I'm here. But I'm not going to fight to get your attention. But the lower awareness, that lower ego nature, is a fighter. It wants the attention. So there is this battle at place where here you are in the middle, you sort of want more higher awareness. But what's getting the attention is the lower nature fighting and just jumping in front of your face and screaming the loudest. So there is this struggle taking place. And most of us spend our effort and time trying to suppress, conceal, or ignore that struggle. We don't like that that's going on. We kind of just want to push that aside. And when this internal struggle is not dealt with, it starts to seep out into our external physical world. And suppressing it and ignoring it and trying to get away from it doesn't solve a problem. It only creates it or causes it to fester and seep into our experience. So then we have relationship problems, then we have career problems, we have financial problems, we have physical health problems, you name it. Now let me get back to the realization I had as a teenager. Meditation ain't easy. Do you guys know that lemurs meditate? Just look up lemurs meditating, and this is a beautiful thing. And they meditate in groups. They're so cute. Anyway, it's worth your time. If you're going to do anything on the internet this week, do that. Trust me. Forget everything else. Why isn't meditation just easy? Here we have this divine intelligence we call God, this omnipresent love, and yet we're trying to connect, and it's not easy. Why would it be designed this way? Doesn't God love me? Isn't God love? Shouldn't I just be able to tap in? Shouldn't I just be able to sit down and boom, I'm in deep silence, I'm in samadhi, and there we go, first time? Why isn't it like that? That doesn't seem fair. And I'd pondered this question for a long time. Why are we instantly faced with bodily discomfort as soon as we sit down? We sit in other places fine for hours and don't think about it. But we sit down to meditate and all of a sudden the hips hurt, the elbows hurt, there's a scratch here, I've got a sneeze, I got a cough, my hair hurts, I don't know how that's possible. And then there's the voices in our head and the distractions of the delusional mind quickly at work, which we don't even notice throughout the rest of our day. And here is why I believe people have used the Bible to try to make their point that meditation is bad or evil. That it opens us up to demons or dark forces that are around us. And here is why. From the very first moment you attempt to meditate, to sit down and meditate, it is making you more aware. It's making you more aware, and that scares people. More aware of yourself, more aware of what is going on around you. You're sort of peering behind the consciousness that is hiding in this structure, right? You're pulling back the curtain on what's really going on behind the scenes, and a lot of people don't like looking at that. They don't like what they see. And when you are more aware, you start to recognize things that you didn't even recognize at work because they were hidden in all the distraction and static. They are unnoticed because they have been buried by us. Suppressed, buried, pushed down, sealed, locked away, tried to ignore it, hoping that that was the solution. You have voices in your head. I have voices in my head. We all have voices in our head. How do you feel about that? Traditionally, voices in your head were what? You were possessed. It was the demons. It was evil. It was the devil. We all have voices in our head. That means anyone who becomes aware of it is now possessed. The demon, the devil, all these sort of things. That's the simple truth of it. And these are not evil voices. These are the voices of fear and doubt and envy and judgment and jealousy and regret and selfishness. They've always been there. Now you couldn't see, well, let me change this topic real quick. Just think about that. Suppose you sat down to be quiet for the first time in your life and all of a sudden you heard those voices. Could you see how that could be a bit frightening to a person? To become still and silent and aware for the first time and you hear these voices at work. Voices that have always been working in your life, but you just never paid attention enough to hear them actually at work. Dare I say, I think one could think they are the voices of demons quite easily. You're not good enough. You're a horrible person. Look how ugly you are. You've always been sick. Your family's a mess. This world's a disaster. The politics will never get healed. The planet is dying. It's all over. What's wrong with you? Why are you even still here? Get up. Go deal with the world. But these are not evil voices. These are just the thoughts of an immature consciousness. That's the reality of the whole situation. We're bumping up against the thoughts of an immature consciousness, and you can either choose to deal with them or you can run from them. Those are the two choices we get. There really is nothing else. You get to deal with them or you can choose to try to run from them. So you can try to just think positive thoughts. You can repeat your favorite Bible passage in your head throughout the day. You can keep talking and thinking and babbling and just creating this static that constantly goes in your mind so that you never have to hear them again. That is an option. You can do that, trying to put a layer of distraction over the whole thing. But did that really heal them? Did that make them go away? Did they stop acting upon your life? And if you have not dealt with them, are they not still influencing and affecting your decisions, your outcomes, and your reactions? Maybe meditation seems difficult because we have created such a pool of difficulty in our consciousness. And if we desire to have a more spiritual, evolved, and joyful experience on this planet, we're going to have to address this committee of chaos in our consciousness, this pool of deception in our consciousness. And if you think about, we've probably taken almost an entire lifetime to develop this pool of chaos. And if you believe in incarnation, you've used several lifetimes to develop this pool of chaos that is now sitting there. So wouldn't it be a mature realization to accept that if this pool has been established for so long, it's going to take a little bit of work to get rid of it? Wouldn't that be the mature stance? Or is the immature stance to run and hide from it? It's just too big to deal with, it's too much. Well, this week, I actually found myself meditating out by a swimming pool. And there was a pesky fly. And as much as people talk about how amazing it is to meditate outside, I'm always followed by, I think, the same pesky fly, no matter where I am in the world. He might be traveling in my luggage, I don't know. I haven't investigated. But I was sitting there dealing with this pesky fly, and it's not new to me, so I've learned the process to sort of just let that go and let the fly be. But I was sitting there thinking about how the fly wouldn't leave me alone, and then I thought about my father Jack sitting up on that precipice, on that cliff, and the whole process. And there he was, overlooking some of the most beautiful landscape in the world, chanting Om with his entire family. What a glorious experience. A perfect setting until the family dog decided to French kiss him. I sat with the fly, I sat with the thought of my dad, and then I thought about perspective. Life is fundamentally about perspective. One could see these situations, and they could conclude that these voices in our head, the French kissing dog, the pesky fly, are all nuances created by an outside force acting upon poor little old me. The demons in my mind, the devil at work, sending this dog with this weird sensation of French kissing people, this fly that's now attacking me, the outside world is acting upon me. We could perceive them as adversaries and evil forces that are out to get us. Or we could perceive them as a part of the process of becoming more aware. You're noticing more things because you're becoming more aware. And that's the unfortunate place where many people give up on meditation. The voices won't go away. I can't stop trying to itch. I'm very uncomfortable. That's good. You are becoming more aware. All these things were always there. You are only becoming more aware. When you are unaware, you can accept the belief that life is out to get you. There's surely an outside force, call it the devil, call it Beelzebub, call it demons, call it whatever you want, negative energy. You can accept life is out to get you because you are unaware of the internal process that's going on. But as soon as you are aware of the internal process, you can't escape that. You can no longer accept that life is acting against you because now you have peered behind the curtain and you've seen what's truly at work. Your subconscious mind is running the show. But meditation makes us aware. And when we are aware, we can finally start growing and expanding out of a life of victimhood into a life of creation, beauty, majesty, and joy. And that is the truth as I experience it. Thank you. We're going to take an offering for Unity now. And I'd like to remind you when we take our offering, wow, I shaved off like 15 minutes off that talk. That's amazing. Yeah. Poor first service was just like being dragged through the coals on that one. Well, I'd like to remind you, this is not giving up of something. This is investing into a spiritual practice, into spiritual growth. And if you'd like to join me in blessing it with this offering statement, I'll say it and then you can repeat after me. Divine love is my true life and my conscious destiny, therefore I give. Together, please. Divine love is my true life and my conscious destiny, therefore I give.
Sometimes when you're in a valley, all of your burdens you carry alone. Oh, but I know when you need me, call, I'll be there, longing to show how much I care. Peace, I'll give you peace when the wind blows on. Peace, whenever you need me, I'll give you peace when the wind blows on. Heartache, whenever your heart aches, I want to be there to help see you through. When you're weary, you know you can find all the strength that you need. Find your rest and your hope in me. Peace, I'll give you peace when the wind blows on. Peace, whenever you need me, I'll give you peace when the wind and the storm blow on. No matter how long the night may last, I'll give you strength till the storm is past. I'll give you peace, sweet peace, when the wind blows on. Peace, whenever you need me, I'll give you peace when the wind blows on. I'll give you peace when the wind starts blowing. I'll give you peace when the wind starts blowing. I'll give you peace when the wind starts blowing. I'll give you peace when the wind starts blowing.
All right, well, if you're here for the first time, I want to personally welcome you, and I'd also like to have a chance to speak with you. So we're going to be over in the fellowship area next door directly after this service, so please come up and introduce yourself so we can meet you. And I believe that's it. So why don't we all rise and come to the center aisle and join for our final song. And if holding hands isn't your thing, then you're welcome to stay where you are and just sing with us.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let
hold that right there. Just feel that for a moment. Put the world in the center of this room. Surround it in this peace. See it lifted in light. And it is so. Amen.